Hi folks, my name is Kushal and welcome to today's episode of Know Your Term Sheet. This is a series of videos where I help demystify the standard VC term sheet for first time founders so that you know what you're signing up for. If you're liking the content that we've been putting out, please do return the favor by hitting that like and subscribe button so that we can reach out to even more founders. Today we are going to be discussing a very important term in the term sheet called founder vesting. Before we get into that, can you guys take a guess what is the most common cause of startup failure? Is it lack of funding? Is it product failure? Is it competition? Turns out it's co-founder conflict. Co-founder conflict is way more common than all these other causes of startup failure. As they say, we are our own worst enemies, and it can't be more true in the startup context. According to one study, more than 65% startups fail because of a co-founder conflict. I don't know if that number is exactly true, but from my life experiences, it is definitely very, very common. If you are a founder, you can intuitively feel this. Starting a company feels like somebody has blindfolded you and you're groping around in the dark trying to hold on to something, just something that will work, right? You don't know what you're building, you don't know who will buy it, you don't know how much they'll pay you for it, you don't know who will fund you. All these are questions that are unanswered. The journey of a successful startup is a journey of finding the answers to these questions one by one. All along the clock is ticking, your money is running out, your time is running out, and you're increasingly starting to feel the pressure. Naturally, right, you're signing up for this pressure cooker type of a situation that is going to put even the most stable relationships in your life to the stress test, and naturally sometimes some of these relationships will snap. When this happens with a co-founder and you come to a point where you just can't see eye to eye, you just can't work together, it could mean the end of your company. Imagine this actually happening. Say you and your co-founder each own 400 shares in a company that raised $2 million by issuing 200 new shares to investor A, right, with a cap table looking something like this. After a couple of years, for whatever reason, you come to a point where the two of you just can't see eye to eye, you absolutely cannot work together, and your co-founder says to you, boss, I am done with this, you run this company as you want, but I am out, right? Now you are left with 40% of a business that you have to run on your own, and additionally it faces higher odds of failure because the co-founder just left, and on top of that, the company does work out after all those years of your effort, he or she will make as much money as you, right? How in the hell is that fair? As you can imagine, nobody in their right minds would want to be in this situation, and hence comes the vesting clause. Even if founders don't admit it, investors know that the odds of a co-founder leaving before the company really becomes successful are actually very high, and the odds keep increasing the more number of co-founders there are in the business. So investors put in this clause called vesting, which basically means that you as a founder, you have to earn out your own shares. In our example, if you had 400 shares that you started the company with, you will be given those shares back as per something called a vesting schedule. Just think of vested shares as in earned shares. The unvested shares are your shares that are kept reserved and waiting for you as you do your time at the company and you earn them out. Usually the way this works is that each founder starts with 0 vested shares and 100% unvested shares. Till the founders have completed working for 1 year, they get nothing. This 1 year is typically called the cliff period. At the end of this 1 year, the founders get their first tranche of their vested shares. Tranches basically means installments. So you get your own shares in installments over time. The tranches themselves can be decided in multiple ways, but the most common way is in equal monthly installments over the vesting schedule. Meaning, say if you're going to get your shares over a 4-year period and you start with 400 shares, you will get the first tranche, which is the first 25% of your shares, that is 100 shares, at the end of the cliff period, which is after the end of year 1. And post that, the 13th month onwards, you start getting equal installments every month, right? So you will get, in our example where you had 400 shares, you got 100 shares after the end of the first year, you will start getting 8.33 shares every month subsequently from the 13th month onwards. This whole thing, this is called a vesting schedule, and it's usually defined very clearly in your definitive agreements. So in our example, if you own 40% of the company after closing a 20% round, you will start with 0% and you will get 10% out of your 40% after the first 1 year, which is 1/4 of your holding. And after the 13th month onwards, you will start getting 0.833% in the company, which keeps adding up to 30% more over the next 3 years, right? This is assuming that the vesting is over 4 years. There are times when investors and founders might decide to do it over 5 years, 6 years or more even. But remember, the shares that you have earned are called the vested shares, and the shares that you are yet to vest are called unvested or restricted shares. Now, in case there is a liquidity event before the 4 years are done, right? Somebody comes and buys your company out, or you end up doing an IPO, all your shares get immediately vested so that you get the entire percentage that you own in the company. So what happens if a founder does leave the company before the vesting period is over? If the founder leaves before the cliff period is over, then the founder gets nothing, zero, which is somewhat fair. I mean, the rationale is that it takes years of effort and like sometimes even decades to build a large successful company. And if you haven't worked for even 1 year on it, you probably do not deserve to make something significant from it. If the founder leaves after the cliff period, then there are two scenarios that investors usually provision for. So one is called leaving for cause and without cause, or it's also called a bad leaver and a good leaver situation. What does this mean? So say if a founder is actually being fired from the company, right? Because fired by the board or by the majority investors or by the other co-founders because of some spectacular bad behavior, like he or she willfully engaged in misconduct, right? Which could mean they cheated a customer, or they sexually harassed somebody, or they stole money from the company. Or two, because of gross negligence, right? They do some monumental damage to the company because of just negligent and irresponsible behavior. Or three, the founder lied in the representations made to the investors, right? For example, they said they worked at company X but they did not work at company X. Or four, say they were charge cheated by a court of law for doing a fraud against the company or against any new investors. So all of these are actions that could permanently destroy the company's chances of making it big. And if a founder is fired from the company by the board or by a majority of the investors, then this scenario is called for cause or a bad leaver situation. In this situation, all the restricted shares of the leaving co-founder can be transferred to the other founders or to the company's ESOP pool as decided by the board. And the leaving co-founder can be made to sell back even their vested shares at a very nominal price to the company or to the other co-founders, again as decided by the board. Then comes the second scenario where the founder is leaving without cause, or what is also known as a good leaver situation. This basically means that the founder is leaving on good terms. Maybe the team has professional differences, maybe the founder has different priorities in life, maybe they just found something more exciting to work on, and you have a mature conversation and one of the founders says I'm going to move out and I'm going to do my best to sort of help with the transition, right? So they will help you with knowledge transfer, they might even hire somebody else to replace them and so on. So this kind of a mature, well-intentioned exit where the founder leaves with the company's best interests at heart, this is called a good leaver situation or a without cause exit. In this scenario, the leaving founder leaves with shares that have been vested and the restricted shares will be transferred. So whatever the founder has vested, that is theirs, they can leave with no questions asked. And the shares which have invested, those will be brought back to the company's ESOP pool or will be given to the other co-founders. Again, the board decides what happens to this. So to break it down simply, if you leave because you messed up, then you get nothing. And if you leave because of an understandable reason and you handhold your team and you cushion the impact of your exit, then you get the shares that have been vested. Now, just to be clear, this is the standard way vesting works, and this is the standard way these clauses are structured, but they are not iron rules and they can be negotiated. Both the cliff period and the vesting schedule can be negotiated. For example, say if you have been running the company together for many years before you finally decided to take VC funding, or if you have put a significant amount of your own money into the company before you raise external capital, you can push back and demand that all your shares be vested from day one of the investment. I have also seen cases where founders who have made some significant progress on the company, even in a few months of work, they get anywhere from 5% to 40% of their shares vested from day one, which means only the rest of the shares start on a vesting schedule. This all depends on how much the company has already achieved before you raise this external capital. So again, like everything else, this vesting schedule and the cliff period, these are negotiations which you have to do with your VC. You can also get away with no vesting, especially in angel rounds or a friends and family round. But any VC who comes in will want to make sure that you stick around and run the company for as long as possible. So they will for sure put in vesting. Now, is this a fair right? I would say depends on your situation, but in most cases, yes, it is fair. This right is designed to give the company its best chance of survival in case of a founder exit. And hence, I think it is fair. What percentage of a founder's share should be vested from day one of the investment, that can be debated. But if you are raising money within the first 1 year of starting the company, then the answer is likely to be 0%. This is because the company got a valuation and it pretty much got started because of external capital. And if the founder now leaves, this completely changes the risks that the company has to address. Investors want to make sure that the founders who remain, they are motivated to work hard and run the company. They want to make sure that if needed, the shares can be allocated to a new person who can come in as a co-founder. And three, they don't want incoming investors to feel like they are enriching somebody who has no longer any role left to play in the company. This clause is as much about protecting the interests of you, the founder, and not just the company and the investors. When you start a company, you feel like your relationship with your co-founder is rock solid, right? Obviously, that is why you picked them. But the reality of life is that people grow apart after years of working together, and you and the company and the investors need to be protected in this scenario. Think of this clause as a prenup in case of a wedding. If a conflict does happen, there's going to be a lot of drama, there's going to be a lot of he said, she said, and there's often going to be litigation even. And it happens all the time. So it's best to have this scenario addressed right up front so that you minimize the damage done to the company and to the team's morale. Founders should also know the price of deserting the ship midway. This clause is important enough that you should put it in yourself, even if your investors don't put it in, because as I said, it's as much about protecting you and the company and not just the investors. Besides, you're always in it for the long term, right? And no founder plans to sell their shares in the company in the first few years anyways. So this materially doesn't affect you unless you actually do leave the company. So that's my take on vesting, folks. As always, do let me know what you guys think in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe so that we can reach out to even more founders. Keep building, keep hustling. Cheers.